Hi, today's subject is the subject of debate. I'd like to say that I'm doing this Le'ilu Nishmat, my grandfather, Rav Shmuel ben Rav Yisrael David, whose 30th yortzeit is today. So it's interesting to explore how debate came into being in the halachic system. It's even more interesting to note that this is the subject of a debate itself. There's one point of view as expressed in the Gemara in Sanhedrin, that when the Talmidim of Hillel and Shammai expanded in number, and they didn't serve their Rebbeim as thoroughly as might have been necessary, that expanded the number of arguments and debates in the halachic system. Well, this implies that debate gave, the situation that gave rise to debate was a lack of knowledge, and therefore to fill in the blanks, we had to debate all sides of an issue in order to arrive at the truth. Another explanation for debate is that this is really built into the system to begin with. And this is the Rambam's position, which he explains in the introduction, in his introduction to Perush HaMishnayot. He talks about Torah Shebal Peh being in 5 realms. One of them is accepted tradition from Moshe Rabbeinu, to which there are references in the Torah, and about those there are no debate. Likewise, Halacha LeMoshe MiSinai, laws that are given over orally to Moshe at Har Sinai, those things we don't debate about. However, there are other laws, area number 3, where certain conclusions have to be driven out through what he calls svara, or rationale. And the minute you have to apply svara, or rationale, to a proposition, that allows for 2 human beings to look at it differently and for debate to get generated. Likewise, in the 4th and 5th areas, gzerot, which are decrees, or takanot and minhagim, institutions and customs, we see in those areas too that those are the result of human efforts to enforce a certain area of a Torah, or to suggest or to institute a certain practice that would uphold the Torah value. And in those cases we also have human involvement, human rationale involved, so therefore it is expected that there's going to be debate built into the system. So let's see how this plays out in an example or two that we can cite even from our recent experience on Seder night. We all know the debate between Rav and Shmuel about where we're supposed to start the recitation of the Magid portion of the Haggadah. But let's back up for a minute and see the fundamentals that they agree on. We all agree on the mitzvah of V'higadah levincha, that we're supposed to tell the story to our children. We all agree that it's supposed to happen on Seder night. We all agree that it's supposed to happen when the matzah and the maror are in front of you at the Seder table. As a matter of fact, as a point of rationale, that we have to start with the ganai, with the derogatory end of the story, and end up a shevach with the praiseworthy or the happy ending of the story, that's an aspect of rationale that they both agree on. Where they disagree is in the scope of the story. There's one opinion that says we're supposed to focus on the departure from Egypt, because that is so full of miracles that that has intrinsic value, and we need to focus in that area. The other opinion is that's an important part of the story, but the scope has to be our transition from descendants of idolaters to those who follow and worship Hashem. Yetziat Mitzrayim is an important part of that, but it needs to be put into that broader context. So both opinions are valid, and as a matter of fact, we try to work it out so that we follow both opinions, and that's why the Haggadah is worked out that way. However, that's not always possible. Let's take, for example, the debate between Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai regarding the order for lighting candles on Hanukkah. So we all know Beit Hillel's opinion, which is based on the concept of we go up in holiness, we don't diminish in holiness. We light 1 candle the first day, we light 8 candles the last day. Beit Shammai's opinion is the opposite. We start with 8 candles and we end up with 1, and they cite, for example, the procedure of diminishing number of korbanot, of sacrifices, of parim, that are offered on Sukkot as a model for sometimes we do go down. So there's a fundamental area of agreement that we're supposed to do Persume Nisa, publicize the miracle on Hanukkah, and we're supposed to light candles, at least 1 in every house. But what we're talking about is a debate based on rationale, based on svara. It has been explained that Beit Hillel's rationale is based on actualization, that the miracle became more and more obvious as Hanukkah went on, so therefore we want to light more and more candles. And Beit Shammai's rationale is based on potential, that the candles had their highest potential on day 1 and their lowest potential on day 8. Now, as a practical matter, we have to rule like one way or the other because we can't do it both ways. So we rule like Beit Hillel. But there's great value in studying both sides of the debate. And that is the inherent value of debate. If we study both sides of the debate, we will learn all kinds of things that we didn't know about the subject matter had we only studied the prevailing opinion from a halachic point of view. So studying Beit Shammai's opinion, or studying Shmuel's opinion, or any other opinion where there's a debate gives us a much more well-rounded point of view as to what, not only what the halacha needs to be, but the underlying Torah behind it. And that is the value of debating and of debate in the acquisition of Torah. I'll end off with this famous story about Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish used to study together. And when Reish Lakish died, Rabbi Yochanan was so distraught, the Gemara in Bava Metzia tells us that the rabbis had to send somebody to Rabbi Yochanan in order to ease his distress. So they sent Rabbi Elazar ben Padat, who was a great Talmid Chacham. So the very first instance, Rabbi Yochanan gave him a halachic proposition, or a proposition around some kind of rationale. We're not told what it is, but that Rabbi Elazar ben Padat brought 24 proofs in favor of what Rabbi Yochanan was saying, to which Rabbi Yochanan cried out, "You think you're anything like Reish Lakish? When Reish Lakish used to come around, I'd advance a rationale and he'd give me 24 reasons why it was wrong. And then we would debate it, and then we would drive out and get to the truth." So I wish everybody much success in their Torah acquisition and use the tool of debate to really explore things in depth. Thank you.